Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's proclaimed the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans. I'm back. It feels good to be back in studio. Dash, I know you've been carrying the show. I'm here to take some weight off your shoulders. I know you hate football. 47, I know you think football's for sissies now, but I still love it. I still love the Steelers, so we're going to talk some Steeler football.
Yeah, we all still love the Steelers, but, man, football is changing, and I'm getting kind of tired of it.
I'm not going to say I don't mind it. I don't like it, but I'm still going to watch it because I like football, and I still like it better
what
than
else
the
you
other
gonna do?
sports. Watch hockey?
Watch Walking Dead.
I do that, too. Shout out to the Pens, won 13 out of 14. I think they're playing the Flyers right now. I'm not sure what the score is, though, because we're doing this.
They were tied 1-1 at the intermission.
Word. Love that hockey. Playoff hockey's awesome. Anyway, let's get to football. The Pittsburgh Steelers, all teams get a 30 official pre-draft visits with players. They don't always use all 30. Some teams don't really use a lot. Some teams bring players in to make people think they want them. The Broncos, when they drafted Jay Cutler, they didn't have 1 ounce of contact with him at all prior to the draft. I read this the other day. They didn't talk to him at a Senior Bowl. They didn't go to his pro day. They didn't have him in for a visit, nothing. They didn't want anybody to know they were interested in Cutler because they thought that they would get taken before them, so they just took him. I mean, obviously they did research on him, but they didn't actually have any meetings with the guy.
Well, that's hurt the Steelers before. They didn't bring in Lima Swede. They didn't bring in Rashard Mendenhall. I don't even know if they brought in Jarvis Jones. I really don't think they did.
I mean, I don't really recall because you think it would have been talked about because we needed a pass
I thought
rusher
he was
that year.
supposed to go higher,
Right.
no matter what, and he was not going to drop to him, so they never really brought him in.
And then he's kind of been a bust for his draft position anyway.
So that's one thing they have to do. I think if they bring guys in, that's really guys that they are going to draft now. I think they've learned their lesson with that.
If I've learned anything from doing this research, the Steelers are targeting defensive backs more in the later rounds. Now, I don't even want to say later, just not the first round. They haven't brought any first-round corners or anything in for a private visit. They've met with some. You know, I'm not saying they haven't talked to him, but they haven't actually brought him in for a private visit. They've had a couple safeties come in with a second or third round grade. I kind of get the feeling that they almost know who their guy is going to be, somewhere around 25, in between, 3 to 4 guys. Whichever is the best one is still there, they're going to take them. So they're not going to invest a whole lot of their time into that pick. As far as the pre-draft workouts, they want to find what they can get in these later rounds, and that's how they get steals like Antonio Brown. They do their due diligence, and they meet with these guys from small schools, and, sometimes they take a swing and hit a home run. Sometimes they take a swing and hit a Lima Swede.
47, what's your thoughts? Lima Swede.
You love him or hate him?
Garbage.
I thought he was your boy. Well, let's get started with the safety position. The Steelers are targeting Ohio State safety Von Bell. Bell is a projected late first round, maybe, high second round pick. He's one of the top 3, depending where you're looking at. Sometimes he's 1, sometimes he's 2, whatever. Safeties in the draft. I don't know. I don't know if he's still going to be there. I think somebody's going to take a flyer on this guy late, as opposed to last year when we thought Landon Collins was still going to be there. He was. We didn't take him, and then nobody took him in the first round, and he ended up in the second. I think it's going to be the reverse. Von Bell, his pro day was good. He had a 4.5 140 and a 30.5-inch vertical. He has good man skills. He has good instincts. He can read the quarterback's eyes. This is a guy that was credited with 23 passes defended over the last 2 seasons. Ohio State plays top schools. It's not like he's going against bum wide receivers, bum tight ends. This guy's a playmaker. He gets to the ball quick. He's a difference maker on the field, and he's somebody that they believe can play day one, start in that first game his rookie year. So I don't know. Maybe at 25 he's still there and the Steelers take a flyer on him in the late first round.
Yeah, I'm not quite so sure. We'll have to see. Isn't this guy a free safety, though?
He can play both.
He can play both?
Yeah.
See, I thought he was a free safety, and if that's the case where he's going to be playing free safety, I don't think that would be a good idea at this point.
I think he played free safety, but he's been a lot of places you see he's just kind of categorized as just a safety. So they feel like he can go both ways.
All right, we'll have to see. I mean, who knows? Maybe he can drop to you in the second round, too. You never know how it's really going to go.
Another guy that can drop to him is Jeremy Cash out of Duke. I've seen people have this guy rated as the top safety in the draft. It's strange to see a Duke player be rated as the top anything. But he's a big football player at 6 foot, 212 pounds. He had 13 bench reps at the combine. He plays physical. He's an impact tackler. 33 of his 98 tackles in 2015 came for gains of 2 yards or less. That's pretty good. That means you're not missing a lot of tackles. And that's something that the Steelers' defensive backs kind of struggled with.
Definitely.
I mean, Mike Mitchell, big hitter, but he whiffs a lot. And I know Antoine Blake's gone, but he couldn't tackle me. So they definitely need to add that skill to their defensive backs.
And where are you projecting him to go? Where's he projected?
He's a projected second-round pick. He is, like I said, ranked somewhere near the top of the safeties. Most safeties, I don't even think there's one really ranked in the first round. It depends where you look. Who's the guy, Jalen Ramsey? He's ranked as a free safety on some places, but most people believe he's going to be a cornerback. He could be a top 5 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to play safety at the NFL level. I think his skill set projects to both, but he could be an impact corner, so I think that's where he'll be.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to find good corners than it is safety. So if he can play the position, then I would say keep him a corner. But, I mean, if he struggles at all, and then you got a backup plan there where you can move him to safety, and he's probably going to be a beast there.
Believe it. I like Cash. He didn't play against the best talent playing at Duke. Duke football really doesn't stand out to anybody. I know they're better now than they were, but they're not, great teams. But this guy, he's kind of the prototypical Steeler. I mean, he works hard. He plays hard. He's big. He's strong. He's willing to just lower his head and run through somebody. He's almost like a linebacker that moves like a safety. Not as much as a ball hawk as Polamalu was. So I don't think that you would get the turnovers, interceptions from him necessarily. But I think things that he does could create a turnover or lead to bad plays by the quarterback.
And, I mean, just his college alone could make this guy a steal. Those guys usually drop just a little bit more because it's harder to see what potential they really have when you go look at the film, So I kind of like these guys more, the guys that play for the smaller colleges and have all the skill still.
47, if you could take the best safety at 25, even though maybe he has, a really high second-round grade, would you go after him? Do you think the Steelers need that much help at the position?
I think they need more help at corner, to be honest with you. I mean, but...
See, here's the thing at corner, though. They're kind of thinking that Senquez Golson is a high draft pick coming into this season,
Basically.
So what if the top-rated cornerback on your...
Well, it depends on who their top-rated cornerback is. I mean, I'm not quite sure at this point. We all have different opinions on who it is, really. But, I mean, who knows? Yeah, if they're top-rated corners out there, I would definitely take that over safety at this point. But if they think the safety's a better player, then you may want to go that direction as well.
It's a tough call, and that's why people get paid to sit there and do hours and hours and hours of research on all this stuff. The next safety on our list is TJ Green out of Clemson. He's 6'2", 209 pounds, had a really nice combine, 4.3, 4.40, 13 bench reps, 33.5-inch vertical. A 4.3, 4.40 for a guy his size, that's uncanny. It's crazy to me that he only has a second-round grade. He has excellent cover range. He can cover pretty much any wide receiver. I mean, from most of the scouting reports, nobody can really cover the top wide receivers. That's why they're the top wide receivers. He has good man coverage ability. He has good zone coverage. He can turn around and run with somebody if he gets beat. He's a lightning fast blitzer coming off the corner. He even returned kicks in 2014. He didn't do it last year, but that's something that all Steeler fans know that we kind of need. I know the kickoff game's almost being eliminated now. They're bringing touchbacks out to the 25 and kickoffs are at like the 50 nowadays or something. I don't know. They move extra points back because they want to make that harder, but then kickers are kicking it through the uprights on kickoffs. It's kind of stupid. But I like TJ Green. I like his skill set. Real big guy. I think the Steelers, they can move to that style. I don't know if that's the best word I want to use, but like that Cam Chancellor type safety. You want that big guy who's fast, but also strong enough and durable enough to go up against somebody the likes of Gronkowski or an Antonio Gates in his prime, or even Jimmy Graham if his knee ever heals.
Well, I think there's a couple reasons you think it's kind of a surprise to have him here in the second round. One is because, yeah, he has all that potential, but he came out of school early also, and they think he's a little bit raw as well. So it's going to take a little bit more time for this guy to get to NFL level. But also the fact he is rising on boards right now as well. He was actually a little lower in projections earlier before the combine and everything, and he is rising up the draft now. So who knows? Maybe he does climb up to the early second round or something like that.
His arrow is pointing up as a player, according to Mike Tomlin.
Please believe it.
47, what do you think about them Clemson players? They like to get stoned and then get suspended for entire seasons. Bastards.
Bastards.
How dare them.
All right, next guy up, Keanu Neal. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Dash.
Keanu Neal.
Keno? Is that how it is? Like Keanu?
Oh, it's Keanu Reeves. Yeah,
it's Keanu Reeves.
Neal.
All right, so Neo, the one, he's a safety from Florida. The Steelers actually attended this guy's pro day and brought him in for a private workout. He's a projected second-round grade, 6 foot, 211 pounds. These safeties are big this year, way bigger than in years past. You didn't really always see 6 foot, 200-plus pound safeties. A lot of the top ones were 5'10", 5'11", something like that. This guy's combine, the 40-yard dash, not too impressive, 4.62, although he is a bigger guy. But he had 17 bench reps, 38-inch vertical. I think the top safety's vertical was either only 40 or 41 inches, so I know this 38 inches is pretty close to the top of the board. He has an athletic frame, good NFL size, a vicious hitter. He really runs through people. He's a rangy run stopper. He's somebody who can come up in the box or play in the backfield. The scouts are really impressed by his character, and that's something that we need because we can't really have all our guys getting suspended all the time. And he really gets on top of the receivers fast after they make the catch. He's not going to give up a lot of yards after the catch. He's not going to miss a lot of tackles. I know it kind of sounds like I'm saying all these guys are the greatest players in the world. Yes, they have weaknesses. We just don't have enough time to go through them all. So we're only going to talk about their strengths.
Yeah, a lot of people actually have this guy ranked a little higher too. So I'd actually be surprised if he made it to the Steelers in the second round.
Some people early in the draft process, I guess I want to call it, projected this guy as a day 3 selection. So he's kind of shot up the boards rather quickly, I guess. Him and that Darius Thompson, is that what his name is? Darian, I'm sorry. I always forget that guy's name. They can play both safety positions, although they are rated as free safeties on most people's boards. Another free safety we got going here, Justin Simmons out of Boston College. Steelers brought him in. He is a projected 6th-round pick, so this is a project guy. 6'2", 202 pounds. Ran a 4.61 40, 16 bench reps, 40-inch vertical. I believe he might have been the one with the top vertical in the draft, honestly, or in the combine, whatever you want to call it. He's good with his eyes. He's good at reading the quarterback, diagnosing the play in front of him. He's not the quickest guy. He's not the most agile guy, so he has a little bit of trouble breaking on the ball. He's not somebody that's going to come up on a lot of underneath routes and, get a pick or break the pass up. He's more of the guy who gets there in time to make the tackle. He can get out into the open, and he moves better in a full stride, so he's not a slow player. He's just not the quickest guy, and he allowed no broken tackles and had just 4 missed tackles in 2015.
And that's the kind of player we need on this defense. Another guy we're forgetting, though, is Doran Grant as well. This guy was actually, he can play corner or he could play safety. They're actually thinking about moving him to safety. And who knows? What round did we draft him in? 3rd?
4th, I think.
4th. So there you go. There's another guy that we could actually think of as a rookie going into this season.
That's why I truly believe the Steelers are going to take a defensive tackle with their first pick.
It's completely possible. I kind of don't want to see it, although I would not be mad at it at all just because, that's the one thing they do need outside of help in the secondary is they do need to bring in another D-tackle.
Yeah, all they got right now is Big Dan McCullers is the only true defensive tackle on their team. The last safety we got here is Darian Thompson, the safety from Boise State. This guy was projected as a first-round draft pick really early in the process. Now he's dropped all the way to maybe the third. I've seen the fourth, fifth, or even the sixth. I don't know what happened. His combine wasn't the best. He's 6'2", 208 pounds. He ran a 4.69 40 at the combine, had 12 bench reps and a 32-inch vertical. I'm not positive on what his pro day 40 was. It was a little better, but it wasn't anything too flashy. He had 19 interceptions in college. That's the all-time leader in Boise State history. He's a big hitter. He's a physical player. He likes to play around the line of scrimmage. He can move in traffic, so he has good agility for a guy his size, and he usually chooses the correct lane to find the running back. So he's somebody that can diagnose the blockers in front of him quickly, try to get to the running back quickly, and he generally makes the tackle when he does. But if his 40 time is any true test of what his speed is out on the field, then that's going to hurt him. But sometimes players, they don't run the 40 well, but they're still fast when they're on a football field.
40 is so stupid. They crunch up into a little ball, stick their arm in the air, and then sprint out. When the hell do you ever do that?
Flops out whenever they fall and flies around through the air and gets turf burn. It's brutal. Yeah, I don't know. I've never run a 40-yard dash. I bet you
I've ran them, but I didn't line up like they do in this combine. It's
you
ridiculous.
Probably just walked up smoking a cigarette.
They
said
actually,
go and you flicked it and just kind of walked.
They actually have people come in and teach them how to run a 40 before the combine.
Yep.
It's so stupid.
I know. It really is dumb. The whole combine pretty much to me is like a circus, and the NFL keeps it going because they make money from it.
Well, it does help figure out who you want to draft. Teams
the
are
meetings,
getting better.
I think, are more than anything.
Yeah, but it's just something to bring everybody in to see everybody, and you could definitely tell all teams are getting better at drafting than they were 30 years ago, you know?
I think getting to see them work under pressure gives you more than what their cone drill really does, because like you said, you don't do that on the football field. You don't do those things out there. You run around and smash into each other, but you get to see people and how they react when they're in an uncomfortable situation, or at least just a different situation than they're used to. Well, let's get started on the cornerbacks. The Steelers brought in Cyrus Jones, the cornerback out of Alabama. He has a 3rd to 4th round projection, a little small, 5'10", 197 pounds, ran a 4.49 40 with 10 bench reps and a 33-inch vertical. He's a good press corner, has good build and a strong lower body. He's able to reroute and maintain position on receivers pretty easily. He's diligent in his run duties. The scouts like him in the locker room. He has good character. He's another excellent return man. If anybody could ever in the world guess his nickname, I would give them every dollar that I make for the rest of my life.
Miley Cyrus.
No, 47. Do you want to try?
Billy Ray Cyrus?
No, but that would be a good one. His nickname is Clampington. I don't know if that means because he clamps down and you don't catch it, or he holds a lot.
Is Clampington from Futurama? One of the gangster robots?
Maybe.
That has clamps?
I don't watch Futurama that much to know that
I believe it might be.
All right, so then he's a robot with clamps.
There you go.
The next guy, Jonathan Jones out of Auburn. They brought him in, 4th round grade, 5'9", 186 pounds. Blazing fast, 4.33 40 with 19 bench reps and a 36-inch vertical. He makes plays outside of his own area. He's good in man coverage, a little better in zone coverage. He's somebody that likes to try to just read the quarterback and make plays. He is, I don't want to call him a freelancer, but he's just one of those guys that just seems like they know what's going on out there, you know what I mean? And you just kind of let him go out and do his thing. He has good closing burst. He gets to the receiver as soon as they catch the football. He separates receivers from the football for his size. I'm not saying he's some beast guy who's going to run through everybody, but he plays a lot bigger than his 5'9", 186-pound frame actually shows.
Maybe he's good at stripping the ball, man.
Hey, he could be. I don't know. I don't watch the film. I don't have that much time.
Heard that.
What do you think, 47? You like these small corners? Why do the Steelers go after small corners and big safeties?
I personally prefer my cornerbacks to have a little bit of size. But even if a guy's 5'9", if he has those superior cover skills,
yeah,
then
I mean, this guy's a late round grade too, so it's not like they're going, looking at him in the first round. If you can get somebody in the fourth round that can start, year 2 or 3, that's a win. You get these guys late, they play good on special teams. Hopefully they step into a starting role shortly after. Willie Gay is not going to be here forever, and we can't keep drafting corners in the first round, and we might not even do it this year. So it'd be nice to be able to get that impact corner in the first or second round this year.
Chris Golson.
Yeah, it'll be good to see him too. And then it would be nice to maybe hit on one in the late rounds if we could, maybe the 5th or 6th round if something's nice there, somebody who could step in and be a starter in year 2 or 3. Or at least a contributor in year 2, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another guy they brought in, Ryan Smith out of North Carolina Central. I needed a little help from Dash on this one, looking this guy up. He has a 7th round or unrestricted free agent projection in most places. He's 5'11", 189 pounds. He ran a 4.47 40 with 18 bench reps and a 36-inch vertical, so not too bad there. He's kind of smooth in his back pedal. He runs nice with receivers. He kind of shadows them very well. He has good ball skills. He can turn and find the receiver on the deep ball. In zone coverage, he's good at reading the quarterback's eyes. He's somebody who excels more in zone than man. He's comfortable in both. But in college, the way offenses and stuff are run, you don't really see as much man coverage on defense. So it kind of hurts defensive backs coming into the NFL.
And if you want to hear more on this guy, we actually talked about him in another segment when I went up to RG2's place. And it's the multiple draft options segment featuring RG2. Go check that out if you want as well.
Please believe RG2 is our Steelers insider, so anything he says is Steelers gold.
And if you want to hit us up, anything Steelers, hit us up at bet_the_spread.
Hit me up at BetJim to win. Jim, the number 2, not the word, the number.
Please believe it.
The less characters, the better with Twitter. Another cornerback, Tavon Young out of Temple. The Steelers went to this guy's pro day. They had him in for a private workout. He's got a 5th round projection, 5'9", 183 pounds, 4.4 640, measly 9 bench reps, but he had 34.5-inch vertical. He plays bigger and more physical than he's listed. He has winning ball skills is what I kept reading. I literally read winning ball skills, I think, in 3 or 4 different places. So I don't know if they're copying and pasting each other's work or if this guy honestly has really good ball skills. But he grabbed 4 interceptions and had 14 passes defended in 2014. So that's winning ball skills, though, I guess.
How's he do when the balls are deflated?
I don't know if they have that stat yet, but I'm sure they'll be bringing it in considering the Patriots force everything onto us.
There's another new stat for ESPN, the deflated ball factor.
He did have no picks his senior year, though. So, I mean, where are those winning ball skills there?
Well, how many forced fumbles did he have? I mean, how many
his
fumble
senior
recovers?
year, he had 41 tackles, 5 for a loss, 1 sack, and no picks.
So, I mean, I really don't know the stats. Maybe he forced some fumbles. And, yes, that's a big factor, too. When people know you have those ball skills and you're a playmaker, they're going to stay away from you in college because usually a team isn't loaded. Where's he from?
Temple, I think.
Temple.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he's the best player on that defense, he's going to get no action during the game, really, if teams play that defense correctly.
Believe it. Cornerback, a lot of people think it's going to be the Steelers' number 1 pick. I'm not sold. I'm not saying I don't think they're going to. And Dash, we've talked about this, at length. If you have your number 4 corner or the number 1 defensive tackle on the board, who's higher rated overall? Is it the number 4 corner or that, your number 1 D tackle? The guy we're going to talk about next, Shaun Robinson out of Alabama. He has a 1st round projection. He's the number 1 or 2 defensive tackle on almost everybody's board. He's the guy I think the Steelers are honestly going to draft if he's there over, I don't want to say over anybody because, what if Jalen Ramsey somehow falls to the Steelers?
Yeah, that
But
wrong.
I pretty much believe Pittsburgh's going to take Robinson. I think he'll still be there. I think it's the smarter pick, maybe not the better pick for day 1, but the Steelers have always felt like if they shore up the pass rush, which was already good last year, that makes the defensive backs better. And like you keep saying, Dash, you get Senquez Golson back this year. Tomlin's really high on this guy. I've heard nothing but great things come out of Tomlin's mouth about Golson. He apparently worked hard mentally, at least. He couldn't do a whole lot physically with his shoulder being hurt, but he was always around the team, always learning things, always asking questions. He's got that good mindset. So I think they're comfortable with him. And losing Steve McLendon, I think Pittsburgh is worried about that defensive tackle position. Robinson is huge, 6'4", 307 pounds, 22 bench reps at the combine. He's a big, strong guy. He's got huge legs. Offensive linemen really just have a hard time when he comes off the ball clean. He's a heavy tackler. He really knows how to shy away from cut blocks, although I'm pretty sure they just made those illegal now, so that might make him even better. He gets really good push up the middle, and that's what Pittsburgh's kind of looking for. Steve McLendon, I'm not hating on the guy because he did better than I expected him to do while he was the starter for Pittsburgh, but he didn't get great pressure up the middle, and the Steelers never really did have that from their nose tackle position. It's always been kind of that big guy who's just a run stuffer. I think they're looking to change that a little bit with Keith Butler's defense, and that pressure straight up the middle is going to help. We're not getting it off the edge as well as we thought we would with a Jaytavius Jones, and I know Bud Dupree's coming into his second year, so he may take a step up. But I think they're looking for different ways to get to the quarterback. We've seen it with Will Allen blitzing as a safety a lot last year, and they really like this guy. He has really good character. He's the only first-round projection that they've brought in for a private workout so far in the process. So that says a lot to me, and I think Pittsburgh is just really impressed with this guy overall.
And like RG2 mentioned, the Steelers were only in a 3-4 technique 30% of the time last season. So there's guys moving around all over the place. And when I look at Dan McCullers as well, this guy's huge. He's like 6'7" or something.
Yeah,
I need a shorter guy in there
60 pounds too.
In the middle of that line there.
Yeah, and we talked about this right before we came on the show. The Steelers are looking to employ maybe a 3-3-5 a little bit more this year, or mix in a 4-3 hybrid. They're not just going to be in that base 3-4 all the time like they used to. They're not that style of defense anymore. They're a high-pressure defense, and they want to create a lot of turnovers, but they're going to do it in more creative ways as they move forward with Keith Butler. I know 47 doesn't like it. He wants pressure from the outside linebackers.
Want pressure from wherever the hell we can get it.
Well, they did bring in an outside linebacker for a visit. His name is Jaytavius Brown. He's from Akron. He's got a 4th or 5th round grade. He's rising on a lot of people's boards. Very small for a linebacker. 5'11", 217 pounds. Is this a guy that could move to safety? I know people call Ryan Shazier small. This guy is small.
Well, what's Shazier's weight? Do you know?
230s.
230.
They've asked him to put on a couple pounds, but they don't want him to play much more than 245 because then he loses his speed.
Right.
But 217, I mean, easy weighs more than that.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. Who knows, though? Maybe he hasn't completely matured and he can put on some weight.
He might. He ran a 4.47 at the regional combine. He's really good to the edge, which is pretty obvious considering he's a smaller guy with a crap load of speed. He uses his quickness and his burst to get to the quarterback. He racks up a lot of sacks as a blitzer. He's an instinctive player. I just don't know. You can't hold up at linebacker at that size in the NFL. And he's a project player, so maybe he's there in the late rounds, and the Steelers think they could turn him into a safety in 2 years or 3 years.
Put him on the practice squad, it'll look like James Harrison in a couple years.
Please believe. But I don't know. You got to be bigger than that, 217. And at 5'11", you can only put on so much weight before you're going to start to slow yourself down, too. You know what I mean? If you're playing 5'11", 260, you're not going to get to the quarterback.
Unless it's roids.
Maybe. 47, could you play linebacker?
Me right now? No. Back in the day?
Midget football, man. You got that.
Oh, back in the day, I would have had that no problem.
The Steelers brought in a few offensive linemen also. The first one we're going to talk about is Gerald Hawkins, an offensive tackle from LSU. He's got a 2nd or 3rd round grade in most places. He's 6'6", 305 pounds, had 23 bench reps. He ran a 5.23 40 if it matters to anybody, but he's a fat guy, so I don't care. He's not going to do too much running in the NFL. He's got long arms. He's experienced on both sides of the line, so he can play left or right tackle. He's got a lot of power. He uses his hands real well. He's got real good foot quickness. He uses his feet to set him up to be successful in his blocking. So his technique is very good. He's not somebody who just relies on being bigger than the other guy. He has good upward motion. He gets off the ball quickly, so he gets his hands engaged into the defensive linemen before they can get their hands on him. He's somebody that's got, I guess, a lot of upside, I want to call it. I mean, not everybody's a first-round pick, and people that have been unrestricted free agents have made the Hall of Fame. So, you're going to find steals somewhere. And maybe the Steelers feel like they can get this tackle in the 3rd or 4th round. Listen, Mike Adams is only back with the team because he was hurt the whole entire year last year, so his year didn't count as a vested player, or else I don't even think he'd still be on the roster. We let Kelvin Beachum walk away. Marcus Gilbert did have a really good season last year, but that was the best season of his career, and he's nearing the age of 30. He might even be 30 already, so it's not like he's going to continue to ascend for years to come. You have Villanueva and you have that Ryan Harris that the Steelers just signed to compete with Villanueva for that tackle position, and that's pretty much it. So they're looking to add somebody who could possibly, step in a year or two and be an impact player on that offensive line.
This Gerald Hawkins, though, he's 6'6", 305. Now, when you're 6'6", just 305 pounds, I think you'd have to put on some serious weight.
I believe so, too, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the size of Villanueva when you look at him.
Yeah.
He's so tall. He's so lean for an offensive lineman. You would think at 6'6", they want to play around 350 or 340 maybe, depending on, the way they carry it. But as a left tackle, you honestly, there's a lot of speed rushers in the league, but you still got to be big enough to handle that beating. I mean, they just get pounded all game long, and that might be hard for somebody to hold up at that size. But the Steelers have a lot of good, Mike Munchak is their offensive line coach. He's the Ray Searage of offensive linemen. If he can get Marcus Gilbert to not give up a sack all year, maybe he can take a wide receiver and not give up a sack all year. Who knows? The last guy we're going to talk about is offensive tackle Caleb Benenoch. I believe that's how you say it, from UCLA. Mm-hmm. He's got a 7th round, maybe unrestricted free agent grade. He's definitely somebody who's a day 3, possibly not even drafted kind of guy. 6'5", 305 pounds. That's pretty small too. He had 25 bench reps at his pro day. He has above average athleticism, real long arms. He's able to get backside cutoff blocks. He takes good angles towards, the defensive players when he's out in space. He has good footwork. He moves all around well, and all those things are good. But he struggles in the grinding it out game. He's not somebody who's just going to come off the snap and really just maul through people. And the Steelers, they need to get better at that. I don't want to say they need to feature that like back in the day, but they really struggle on short yardage runs, goal line runs. They don't do well in those situations, and that's why they struggle to score in the red zone a lot of times. So I don't know if I want to take an offensive lineman whose biggest weakness is already our biggest weakness. But he was a 3-year starter at right tackle. He's a guy who's experienced. He's a project guy, so obviously if they took him in the 7th round, I'm not going to freak out and say he's a horrible draft pick. But I don't know about him, that's all.
I'll tell you who I want them to draft. He's an inside linebacker / outside linebacker from Arizona. Scooby Wright.
Did your Uncle Bruce give you the info on him?
No, I just like his first name, Scooby.
Scooby Snacks.
It's ridiculous. I hope that's not his real name, or his mother should be ashamed.
Now, the Steelers have had some meetings with people other than private workouts that are interesting to note. Mackenzie Alexander, the cornerback from Clemson, they met with him at the Combine. They met with tight end from Stanford, Austin Hooper. They've met with Clemson safety, Jayon Curse. They've had some type of meeting. It doesn't list what their contact exactly was. We talked about Jayon Curse actually in one of our segments. He's a mid-round guy. He's a real big guy, somewhere around 6'4". He's another safety that could really, change things and change the way the safety game is going, to be a bigger type player, a bigger, faster, stronger guy. The Steelers have talked to some later round quarterbacks, which is pretty interesting to me. They've talked to Dak Prescott, the quarterback out of Mississippi State. They talked with him at the Combine, and they attended his pro day. They also attended Brandon Allen's pro day, the quarterback out of Arkansas. They met with Cody Kessler, the quarterback from USC, at the Senior Bowl. So they are looking to upgrade the backup position. Obviously, none of those guys are looking to step in with Ben Roethlisberger still on the team. But there's a lot of talk of Landry Jones is going to be cut. The only two quarterbacks on the roster right now are Ben Roethlisberger and Landry Jones. They're not going to draft somebody in the 7th round and then cut Landry Jones and run with a backup who has no NFL experience and wasn't even good enough to get drafted on the second day of the draft. So we have to keep our expectations realistic. It'll most likely be Landry Jones at backup quarterback unless they find a journeyman they like better, such as Bruce Gradkowski, although I don't think he'll be back because of the injury issues, or somebody just really comes in and wows them as a late round draft pick, which is just probably not going to happen. So we're stuck with Landry Jones as the backup for one more year. He's cheap. He's better than what's left out there as far as the veterans. I mean, they're not going to sign Ryan Fitzpatrick to be their backup. They're not going to bring back Michael Vick. So it's pretty much just who we're stuck with.
So would you draft a quarterback in this draft at all?
In this draft, I mean, if they like
and
somebody...
what would you be thinking about this quarterback? As what? Your third quarterback? Maybe possibly the future if the Steelers think he could be?
If they're going to take a later round quarterback, I would view him as the third quarterback, somebody who could maybe step in as the backup role next season after you let Landry Jones walk. You let him finish out his contract this year. And then you either hope that he's good enough to step in and is the starter, and it would be 2 or 3 more years after that, when Ben Roethlisberger retires, or maybe he just holds the fort down until somebody better comes through when you have, that terrible season and get a chance at another franchise quarterback. But I don't think they're going to find a franchise guy in the late rounds.
Tom Brady.
I mean, it's happened. I'm not saying it can't happen. I just don't see it this year. I know nobody ever really sees it. That's why they're late round picks. They have so many defensive needs, and they're so close to that Super Bowl, the cusp, basically, that they're really just going to chase it. And they don't have an immediate need at quarterback, so I don't think they go after it really hard this year.
So who else are they bringing in here?
I mean, who else have they brought in?
Is that it?
Shaq Lawson. I mean, yeah, this Carl Nassib. These are just guys that they haven't actually brought into the facility. These are just guys they've talked to at different points in time.
They brought him in. It's secret.
We've talked about all the guys they brought in. I mean, it's an interesting looking, not a draft board, but, class of people that they've talked to. It's pretty much completely defensive. They've had a couple quarterbacks in there, maybe a few offensive linemen. I see 1 or 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, but it's middle linebacker, DN, cornerback, DN, D tackle, cornerback, linebacker, safety. So they really feel comfortable with their offensive players, at least as far as the starters. And, they're looking to add some depth maybe to certain positions. But I wouldn't expect anything different than the top 3 rounds defense. I really believe it.
Definitely not. And you got to remember, all these guys we mentioned, you got, 30 slots to bring in or whatever.
So there's going to be more.
They went out and talked to people. So there's other people definitely that they're thinking about as well. This is more for, not necessarily all for just depth and for later rounds and stuff, but a lot of it is.
Yeah. The safety position really looks to be what they're going to be targeting in the 2nd or 3rd round. They've brought in 4 second-round projections and 1, 3 to 5 round, that Darian Thompson. People don't really know where he's going to go quite yet, but it looks like they're targeting that hard in the 2nd round. They know it's a position they need. It could be a smokescreen. You never really know in the draft process. That's why I hate to speculate a whole lot, but I love to watch it and I love to talk about it.
I wish it was still 1 day or whatever.
Yeah, I hate how it was 2 days before. That was great. You had the first 3 rounds in 1 day, and then you had the rest the next day.
Wasn't it all 1 day at one point?
Maybe, I don't know.
And then they moved it to that and then kept changing it.
And there also used to be 13 rounds in their draft, too.
Yeah.
Back in the day, before we were born. Well, that's it. You guys got anything else for the fans?
No, that's it, man.
Feels good to be back in studio. I want to thank you guys for sitting with me. I want to thank you fans for listening. You guys can hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You can hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. That's betjim, the number 2 win. Keep coming back to the YouTube page and clicking subscribe, and just love football with us.